Hey, what's going on, guys? This is One Hand Tech back with another unboxing for you. Now, finally got all the parts in from Ameridroid with their Odroid single board computers. Originally, I was supposed to be getting a XU4 board, but they ended up sending their C2 board along with the XU4 power supply and the XU4 case. So I emailed them back, let them know what was going on. And they went ahead and sent me out a new board, the correct board, the XU4 board. They sent me the power supply for the C2, so I can go ahead and keep that one as well as a case for the C2. So now I got two single board computers from Odroid, from the people over at Ameridroid, and that's what we're going to be unboxing today, see what all they sent in. Alright, let's go ahead and get this stuff unboxed, see what we're looking at. All right, here is the top for the XU4 board. Here's the bottom portion and the screws for the XU4 board. Right here, let's get this out of the bubble wrap. And here's the case for the C2 board. Here's the power supply. I do believe this is for the XU4 board. I'm not exactly sure. We'll see when we get those open. But here's one of them anyway. Get a little bit of literature with it. Tells you about some of the other products that they got. In this little bag, it looks like we got 8 gig memory card, eMMC memory, and a micro SD to eMMC adapter. The eMMC looks like 16 gig. The micro SD card is an 8 gig. One of those has Android on it, one has Linux on it. I'm not sure, I don't remember which one has which. I'll have to look in the email that they sent. But one has Linux, one has Android. This box here. And we got another power brick. This one has got a smaller adapter on it. See what the power rating is on it. This one's 5 volt, 2 amps. I don't know if that'll focus in or not. Let's try to take this. We can take the plastic off, and if that's going to help it be able to focus so you guys can see the power ratings on these. Let's see. And on the other one, this one is 5 volt, 4 amp. Is it going to focus? Of course not. It's 5 volt 4 amp though. Alright, we'll open this. I think this is going to be the C2 board here. It's right here. It's the C2 board. And now, when they sent me, this is the XU4 board here. When they sent me this one, they sent me another SD card. It's another 8 gig. This one's got a green sticker. The other one has a blue sticker. And then the eMMC has a white sticker. So I'm not sure what the different colors mean, but I'll find out. We'll do that in the review. Let's get this. Out of the way. Let's see here. Got some literature, it seems like. So getting started with your Odroid XU4. Tells you how to get it up and running. And what the username, password, and everything like that is for it. And here's the XU4 board. Some USB 3. So it's looking like the 4 amp power supply goes for the XU4, which is nice because it probably has more power capability on the GPIO pins than the C2 does. That's the back. Got your eMMC spot here. The micro SD is on the front right here. And the XU4 board has active cooling as well, whereas the C2 has passive cooling. But it looks to be about the same heatsink style, like with the tie down points. So we may be able to put an active cooler on this as well. And they do sell the active coolers by themselves on Ameridroid's website. Alright guys, this is what everything Ameridroid has sent me for a review. We'll go over the parts again. Then we'll go ahead and put the boards in their case. That way they're protected and everything. That way we can see what it's like whenever they're inside the case. Right here is the power supply for the XU4 board, the case for the XU4, the XU4 board itself, case for the C2, the board, the C2 board, and the power supply for the C2 board. And they also sent me a 16 gigabyte eMMC module, an 8 gigabyte SD card, and another 8 gigabyte SD card, as well as a micro SD to eMMC converter or adapter. That way we can reprogram the eMMC module. So we'll go ahead and put them in the case and give you guys a look at what they look like once you get them put together. Alright guys, now I got the XU4 board and the C2 board in the cases. The cases are made of some pretty nice plastic material. It's pretty sturdy. Now there are some things I don't like about the cases, and I'll take you around them now. You have clear access to all of the ports. All the connection ports, that is. Even your IR blaster, they have clear plastic, that way it can go right through. But one thing I don't like on both boards, the GPIO pins are covered. So you can't use those when you have the case on. But it does look like they've cut some reliefs around here. You see that? Like you can cut these little notches out on the sides right here and right here, and that will release this plastic right here on the corner to uncover those GPIO pins. So if you're wanting to use this in like a robot or something that you want to use the GPIO pins for, and there's 40 of them on this board, on the C2 board, then it looks like you can modify this case a little bit, take this piece of plastic out, and that will be able to enable you access to the GPIO pins. Now, one thing that concerns me is if you take this piece of plastic off, cut it out on the notches like I showed, and on the back side there's no screws on this side of the case. The case only screws right here and right here, and then it clips on this side, right there, right there. But if you remove this piece of plastic to get access to the GPIO pins, then one of those clips is going to release its grip. So this corner of the case is not going to have anything holding it together. So that's a little worrisome. Now, as far as the C2 goes, the eMMC module plugs in on the bottom of the board. as well as the SD card slot is on the bottom of the board. Again, both of those are covered up. You can't get to them to switch things out, which be nice to see if they could put a sliding door on here or a fold out spot, something that allows you access to both the eMMC module and a micro SD slot. Now, just like the GPIO pins, there's relief cutouts, so you can see that right here, where you could take this piece of plastic out to give you access to the micro SD slot. Now, that one would probably be okay. I don't think it would cause too much structural instability, just like unlike the GPIO pin cutout. But it would be nice if it was added from the get-go, from the factory. Now, I want to give you guys a little bit of information about the C2 board. It's using the Amlogic S905 quad-core Cortex A53 chip running at 1.5 gigahertz. That is a 64-bit ARM-V8 processor, and it has a Mali 450 GPU in it. Alright, so I mean, it's not going to be your gaming PC, but it has quite a bit of processing power. I do believe this is right up there with the Raspberry Pi Model B, Raspberry Pi 3 Model B, with the exception that it does not have wireless on board or Bluetooth. Also, the eMMC modules, it can support, they plug in back here, it can support 8 gigabyte, 16 gigabyte, 32 gigabyte, or 64 gigabyte eMMC modules. As far as the SD cards go, I couldn't find any compatibility issues with these as far as storage limits go, but it does, I have seen some things where some micro SD cards will not work good with the controller that's on here, and Odroid is supposed to be posting a compatibility list for the SD cards, but for the most part, SanDisk SD cards are one of the cheapest SD cards, and all of them so far have been compatible with this. Now, if you do get an SD card instead of eMMC module, you'll want to make sure you get a Class 10 SD card for these, just because the Class 10 SD cards have such higher transfer rates that it'll make it run a lot smoother and a lot faster. But overall, you're going to get the best performance out of the eMMC module. The eMMC memory is just like a SSD in your computer. It has a solid state chip that plugs in the back. Now, the transfer rates are much faster than the SD card is, and in my opinion, that'd be the way to go. Alright, on the C2, we'll go over the ports and layout real quick. Here's the power connector for the power brick that they sent. You get a full-size HDMI, a micro USB OTG port. Now, this port you could also power the C2 board with. Both power inputs take 5 volt 2 amp power. You get your infrared receiver, and that takes the 39.7 kilohertz or 37.9 kilohertz frequency. Pretty standard. See your 40 GPIO pins, micro SD port, eMMC ports on the bottom. You get 4 port USB 2 support and 10, 100, 1000 Ethernet. And the Ethernet uses the Realtek RTL 8211F chip. So it should be pretty stable. On the C2 board, I do not see any reset button, any power button, but I'm quite quite anxious to get this thing up and running and see what all kinds of stuff we can do with it, what kind of processing power it has. Alright, now we're on to the XU4 board. Give you guys a look around it real quick, tell you a little bit about it, and then we'll let you guys get out of here. On the top you can see the venting for the active cooling. Pretty small vent holes though. I'm not sure how efficient that'll be, but we'll see during the review. I also got a reset button built into the case, which is nice to see, so we don't have to take it out or unplug the power to get it to reset. On the side, you got USB 3 ports, 2 of them. Right there you can see your reset switch. Some of your GPIO pins are on this side. The layout of the GPIO pins are a little bit different on the XU4 board compared to the C2 board. The GPIO pins are split, and they have a different pitch as well. Some of them are on this side, and it goes around to the back. There's another header over here. You have your boot selection switch, which we'll get in more into that during the full review. Going on around the other side, we have our full-size HDMI, your micro SD slot, power in, USB 2, and 10, 100, 1000 Ethernet. On the front, there's nothing accessed from the outside of the case, but you can see your serial port here, and I do believe that is a battery connection. On the bottom of the board, your eMMC connection is up here. Again, not accessible from outside of the case. So in order to swap out eMMC modules or to install one, you would have to take the board out of the case. But on this one, however, you do have external access to the micro SD slot. Now the XU4 board has a little bit more processing power and a better GPU than the C2 board does. The XU4 board is running a Samsung Equinox 5422 octa-core CPU running at 2 GHz, and it is a Mali T628 GPU. Both boards are running 2 gigabytes of DDR3 memory on board, so it'd be pretty decent for one of the things you could do with these is make like a TV box or a Kodi box or something like that out of it, and especially at the price points, it's not too bad of a deal. But it'll have much more flexibility and processing power than a lot of the Kodi boxes that are on the market right now. Now also on the XU4 board, the full-size HDMI here is a 1.4 HDMI connection. The HDMI connection on the Odroid C2 board is just a standard HDMI connection. Now both boards, let me get the C2 board back over here. Alright, both boards have power input protection on the micro USB port, and depending on what you're going to use it for, would depend on what board you should get. Now the C2 has more USB ports. It has 4 USB 2 ports, whereas the XU4 only has 2 USB 3 and 1 USB 2. So depending on your connectivity, I mean, you can always get an external powered USB bank to hook up to it, but given how much processing power you need, how much graphics processing power you need, and how much external input-output devices you have, I would depend on what board you're going to get. Also, another thing you need to look into is the XU4 comes with active cooling already, whereas the C2 comes with passive cooling. That means the XU4 board is going to get louder, and if you need more processing power, the XU4 board would be the way to go. But with more processing power comes more heat, which means the fan's going to spin more, which means more noise. So It's really going to depend on what kind of project you have, which board you should choose. They do have a couple other ones to select from, but these seem to be the two big ones right at the moment. Now I do have an external 5-inch touchscreen that I'm going to be using for a project. I originally wanted the XU4 for this project, but the C2 could probably do it as well. What I'm wanting to do is make a standalone enclosure, sit next to my computer on my desk with an external screen to monitor my website, to be kind of a web server and take in all the data logging and everything from that. Alright guys, that's going to about wrap it up for the Odroid single board computer unboxings. Make sure you guys stay tuned for all the products that are the projects that are coming using these boards. Show you the versatility of them, and the different operating systems they can run and so forth. We might even get into overclocking and water cooling them, see how much we can get out of them, run some benchmarks, see how they stack up against other single board computers. If you guys have questions or comments, make sure you guys leave them below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that way you guys can see all the videos that I got coming out as soon as they're posted. And catch you guys next time.